Welcome to the main Traction REIA meeting for July 2024. It's Tom Zeeb, president of Traction REIA, here with you guys, as always. Super excited, actually, to be midway through this year, right? It's almost Christmas in July. We're at that halfway point through the year, and there's always a bit of reflection that occurs. There's always reflection that needs to occur, whether or not you want it to occur. And I've been reflecting as well. And one of the things, if you've kind of followed the theme of Traction REIA and the theme of my very numerous messages to you almost every day throughout the year, is there's stuff changing. The change is finally here. The waves of change and the winds of change and the sometimes the scariness of the change is upon us. I don't think it can be denied anymore. Yeah, I've been maybe a bit of a broken record the last 2.5, 3 years saying it. I'm on record saying it on the email, so it's nice kind of being able to go back and say, hey, look, yeah, the market was actually shifting long before the media bothered to admit it, but we know they don't tend to admit things until it's so totally obvious that it's occurred. So one of the big things I said at the beginning of this year was stick with us throughout this year. Learn the different topics that we put in front of you each month because they are all interconnected and woven together. There's a definite method behind the madness of what we've chosen to put in front of you and present. The topics, the speakers, the timeliness of all of that. It's all designed with a particular theme in mind. And look, I can argue all the months have been very important, but this month particularly is super duper important because this is one of the ways that you both recognize the change that's occurred, but this gives you the technique to use on it moving forward. So if everything we think is coming, and certainly the numbers seem to be showing that we're definitely at the beginning phases of that, then fantastic, because while those winds of change might be scary to some, if you keep a cool head about it, that's when the great fortunes are made. If you look back on history, and I always think that history is a great lesson for what's coming in the future. Yes, looking backwards can tell you what's actually coming going forwards, strange as it might be, right? But if we look at history, the great fortunes are made during those weird random times where everything seems to be topsy-turvy. And the people that keep their head, keep their cool, have a plan and idea and execute it going forward, those are the ones that come out the back end of everything fantastically successful. So I don't know about you, but I like being fantastically successful, and I want you to be fantastically successful as well. And that is exactly why we've been following our plan for 2024 this year here at Traction REIA. And Andy Heller's presentation tonight is a big, massive key, I would argue the pivotal part of that presentation, part of the overall plan as well, his presentation tonight. So I think you are going to enjoy it. Now, with that being said, let me share my screen and let's get moving. Some housekeeping notes for this evening. If you have any issues or any troubles, Carolina is online. Find her in the chat. Hit her privately in the chat, or you can email her as well. She keeps an eye on both as we go. Let's keep the chat for kind of the business of the meeting. Don't make it into a kind of circus sideshow, and which is kind of distracting. It's distracting to the speaker as well when all the chat messages keep popping up. So let's just keep out of the chat for the most part, unless you're asked to participate in the chat. Let's see. The sponsors I will ask to unmute as we go and speak up, and that'd be fantastic. And then I think when Andy does Q&A towards the end of the night, it'd be the same way. We'll ask you to raise your hand, and then we'll call on you to unmute and ask your question. So I think with that, we're in good shape. So welcome. I'm Tom Zeeb. I said that, president of Traction Real Estate Investors Association, a nationwide group with specific focus in Washington, D.C., Tampa, Florida, and Sarasota, Florida. By specific focus, I mean it's for those regions that we represent the National REIA in their lobbying efforts and have responsibility for those. That's 4 states, DC, Virginia, Maryland, and Florida, and we keep an eye on things nationwide as well. So what we teach, particularly this year, it works everywhere. So if you're joining us from somewhere else, welcome. Happy to have you here. You're going to learn an absolute ton as you go. A quick disclaimer, because my attorney insists on a quick disclaimer. Traction REIA is going to teach you how to make money in real estate investing. At any time we talk about making money, I have to disclaim that there is no guarantee. You're not guaranteed to make money, but we will teach you how you can make money. Whether or not you actually will is up to you. You have to do and implement what we say and understand that, yeah, there's downsides to things as well. That's called risk. And the upside where the money's made, that's called the reward. And balancing that risk and reward is what we teach you how to do. So that is the disclaimer for Traction. We would love for you to talk up this meeting. The number one way that we meet more great people just like you is to have, well, great people like you refers to other great people. So if you have a friend that's interested, family member that's interested, someone you know that goes, hey, they've always talked about getting into real estate, and maybe they need to start to learn what they need to do, and they want a community to be able to do that, refer them here. Send them to our website, tractionrea.com. Forward them any of the emails you get from Carolina or me, and we will happily bring them in to Traction REIA, and they can see if this is something that fits them. Also, if you want to keep the party going when we don't have an actual meeting, you can join our Facebook group. This would be the new and improved and hopefully finally secure Facebook group. If you're in our previous Facebook group, you may notice that suddenly it's trying to sell you purses and handbags. Somehow a lot of Facebook groups got hijacked. Who knows if it's an internal job or not, but ours was included in that major Facebook hijacking. So we just rolled out a new Facebook group since they can't seem to give the old one back to us. So look for, I think it's facebook.com/Traction Real Estate, spelled out as all one word, and you'll see our group there, and you're welcome to join it. If you're in the old one, I'd probably skip buying handbags from people who had a hijack the Facebook group, but that's all right. If you would like to learn and listen while you are driving or walking or running or on the treadmill or working out or walking the dog, whatever it happens to be, I know I'm biased, but I think my podcast is a fantastic place for you to learn real estate investing. I've got 5 seasons of the podcast. It's the Get Traction podcast, and now I call it the art and science of real estate negotiation. It is a lot of training, free training, and interviews with successful students and members so that you can learn what it takes. It's all conversational format. These are, it's long form. They're about 45 minutes to an hour long, because I think that's how long it takes to really have an open conversation with successful people and draw the important details out of them. So I know there's a lot of podcasts that are only 3-4 minutes long. That's great. I don't think you get as much out of it as the old school long format. So I'm sticking to my guns on that one. So check it out. Go to tomzeeb.com, and then you can download it and link through to any of the different podcast listening services out there. Also, if you like to read, I have a book. It's a nice, crisp, concise book on how to correctly flip houses for a profit. Go to amazon.com. You could type that in, or it's probably easier just to type Tom Zeeb, and you can grab my book there. We also have an audio format of it available. And if you want all things Traction all the time, including the podcast, including the daily messages, our entire calendar of events, and a lot of other awesome video trainings, a lot of training all in one spot, point your phone's camera at that QR code on the screen. And whether you are iPhone or Android, it will download the appropriate version of the Traction app, and literally all of our training in one terrific spot. If you didn't get your phone out in time, just go to tractionreal.com/app, APP, and it will automatically download that as well. Now, I would like to introduce my lovely wife, Carolina Zeeb, who is Vice President of Traction REIA. She is going to take you through a few important points as well. And we always do a very low-tech switch, which is I go sit over there, she comes sit over here.
I'll sit on the.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. So good to see so many familiar faces, but I also see some new faces. So welcome. My name is Carolina. It might be pronounced Carolina. If you're from the South, it will be pronounced Caroline, Carolyn. Don't worry. I know it's me, but it's Carolina. Very, very happy to have you all. If this is the first time you're seeing me, I'm from Colombia. That's where the lovely accent is from. And I've been investing in real estate for over 20 years. I've done wholesaling, rehabs, subject to rentals, all of the things. But I do love our Traction family. I love our Traction community. I love hosting events. I love bringing amazing speakers to all of you. And I love that I can see you either in person or online every month. So let me tell you a bit about what Traction can do for you. So I always start by saying thank you to all our staff, our volunteers. I know Claude is there and Jesse's there, but Crystal, Dwayne, and Jeannie, thank you so much for everything that you do for Traction. We love you guys. One of my favorite photos, this was at a Home Depot event that we did at a Christmas in DC. This is the Traction family. We are a lovely Traction real estate community. We do provide meetings and information online, but we also have 2 chapters that are part of the National REIA. That is the Washington, DC area that includes Northern Virginia and Southern Maryland, and in Florida, we have the Tampa, Sarasota area chapter. So if you do live in one of those areas, then you get to see us in person as well, and you get to enjoy some of the benefits that are available to you. So this was a award that we received last year. Every year, the National Real Estate Investors Association, which is the big group that we're part of, they do an annual meeting, and they keep us updated on legislation, on how we can serve better to our members. And this was the award that we got last year. So yeah, I'll brag about it because it was a great honor, and it really inspired us to continue to be a 5-star REIA. These are all the awards that we have won in the past, wow, almost 15 years. Remind me how I know that, because in 2009, we're still the only REIA group that had a unique event. I was very pregnant when the January 2009 meeting took place. And my son, Tommy, who was due the 16th, decided it was time to be born. And I went into labor at the meeting. So I'm still the only REIA leader that had to say, excuse me, I have to go because I have to go to deliver. Our boy, he is still to this day the youngest real estate investor of time, because he almost made it to the meeting. Okay, so those are our awards. And now is a good time to bring our sponsors. And I know Charlie's there. Hey, Charlie. Can you
Charlie stepped away
unmute?
for just a second.
He did?
The seat is empty.
Okay.
We'll grab him in a second.
We'll grab him later. Okay. So how about we start with, this is Specialized Trust Company. They are our preferred IRA and 401k service provider. They have been with us for a long time, and they will help you set up your self-directed IRA, your Roth IRA, your 401k, because there's so many real estate deals and transactions that you can do inside this amazing tools and avoid paying taxes. So this is the website. Tom, could you put their info in the chat? If you go to the publisher should be there. And so if you have any questions, we're going to include the information in there and reach out to them. And they always have a special for Traction members. So that's Specialized Trust. And there's Claude. Hello, Claude. Would you like to unmute?
Hi, Carolina.
Hey, Claude. Let me make you share my screen at a spotlight. There you go.
Hi. Okay. Thank you for that. So, oh, you want me to talk?
Yeah, sure.
I've been talking all day, and I'm a guy, so I've used my daily limit of words already. I have no words left. But I'm a realtor here in the DC area, focused on investors, and we help people understand what value is today for properties that aren't quite ready to sell, and what values will be tomorrow for properties that are just in perfect shape. A lot of what I do with Traction is that type of thing. Contact info on the screen, below my name. Just reach out. We'll talk.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come back to Charlie.
Okay, Charlie, are you there?
I am here.
Where are you? Hold on. Participants, Charlie, let me put you on spotlight. How are you, Charlie?
Good. How's everybody doing this evening?
Good. Tell us about Clear Sky and all the amazing things that you do for us.
Okay, so we're Clear Sky Financial. We're what's called an asset-based lender. We lend in DC, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, Florida, and we just started in Louisiana. And so we're out in 6 states now. We're what's called an asset-based lender. So we lend on the value of the asset. We don't pull credit. We don't check income, any of that kind of thing. We're primarily for fix and flip investors, buy and hold investors. If you are going to be a buy and hold investor, then we are going to need to know your credit score so we can refinance you out into what's called a debt service coverage ratio loan. We also do transactional financing for wholesalers. So if you're a wholesaler and you got a fairly large contract assignment fee that you're going to get, and you might not necessarily know that your seller, you don't want the seller to know what that fee is. We'll do a transactional fund for you guys where you buy the house for 6 hours or 24 hours. You get your cash buyer to come behind you and buy it, and then we'll finance you from a transactional funding standpoint. My information's on the chat. That's who I am. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. Okay. So we talk about Charlie, we talk about Specialized, we talked about Load. Let's talk about Accurate. It's a fantastic provider of 1031 exchange services. If you have never heard the word, it's another fantastic tool that you have where if you have an investment property and you are going to sell it, most likely you are going to pay a big chunk of tax, over 15%. But instead of selling the property and paying all the tax, you could sell the property and transfer all those funds to a new investment property that has similar bed and baths and kind of the similar features. So you have to do that through a facilitator. So Accurate is the business that will help you do that. So their information is on the chat. We'll also send you the link to our newsletter for this month. That way you can see all the information and all the providers there. Scotsman's Guide. I know Tom knows a bit more about that, but so I'm going to let him talk about it when he comes back. But also their information is on the newsletter. Deal Machine, one of our favorite ones, and most of you have heard of them, but if you haven't, they're an app and a software. It's an amazing tool to help you find more deals, more leads, more deals. So this is really good. We have a really good deal with Deal Machine. They provide a really good discount rate for Traction members. So check that one out. And let's see, if we have a few success stories, I will take the first 2-3 people based on time that just raised their hand, and I'm happy to unmute you and just tell us, maybe you closed a deal recently, you finished a big renovation. If you are ready to go ahead and raise your hand or unmute. Man, it's hard to see this. Anybody going once? Don't be shy. You can share, even if it's, hey, I sent my first round of postcards. Do you see any hands? I don't see any hands. Let me see.
I got new version of Zoom. I'm struggling.
Okay.
There we go, Mariska and Larry.
Okay, go ahead, guys.
Hi there. First, I'll just say, Tom, I don't know if you remember us, but we met you about 10 or 12 years ago in Seattle when you came to REEP's out there. We now live in North Idaho, but anyway.
You gave me a ride to the airport. Thanks.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so we've been doing lease options for a while. We kind of stopped for a while when the market, markets change, they come and go and what have you. We've kind of been looking forward to this market. Not that we want anyone to get hurt, but because it is some of the things we do just work beautifully. And yes, I was predicting the downturn since 2018 as well. So we did just help some folks who had a property that they didn't have a lot of equity on, and they had tried to sell it, and it just wasn't moving. So we helped them structure a lease with option to buy and found a great tenant who just was the perfect candidate. He had great credit, but he hadn't filed his taxes in a couple of years because he was going through a divorce. And but his income was stellar, and it was just a good fit all the way around. So anyway, that was fun. It was a win-win-win.
Awesome.
Nice,
Congratulations.
exactly what Andy's going to be talking about tonight. So perfect. Glad to hear it.
Awesome.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
A virtual hug, applause.
Thank
Good to see you guys. Thank you for sharing. Okay, anybody else? Going once, going twice, and gone. Okay. Deal makers. This is for Traction REIA Association members only, meaning you have paid your dues, your good and dues, your current. This is related to real estate. Please do not tell me anything else. Do not tell me a service, because that's something for sponsors. But if you have a deal that you have control of and you would like to promote, go ahead and raise your hand right now, and we can take the first 1 or 2 people that would like to share a deal that they have ready to announce. You can just raise your hand and I'll add you to the spotlight. No, shy. Okay. Okay, that's it. Let me talk to you about Home Depot, because I have a few things to tell you. Okay. Let's talk about the benefits. If you join TractionREIA.com, on whether you're in the DC region or you're in the Florida region, you are eligible for the following, I'm sorry?
Anyway,
Oh yeah, sorry, nationwide. You are eligible for the following benefits directly with Home Depot. 20% of liquid paint, doesn't matter if it's bare, PPG, doesn't matter if you buy 1 gallon, you will always get that 20% off. The 10% of cabinets as a unique program, and the 2% cashback rebate, who's one of our favorites. Whatever you spend January to June, they'll send you a 2% of what you have spent, and the same thing July to December. So we are in July. So members, if you were current on your dues and you were properly registered, you should be getting your rebate by the end of July, by the end of August, you should have your rebate in your hands. And in general, Home Depot is going to look at you different. It depends on what you buy, the discounts that they have, but they're going to look at you in a different way because you're now part of this family that spends almost $50 million a year with them. So they're going to treat you different. This is my son, Dominic, who's always there to remind you, have you registered for the rebate. Once you join Traction, you get a set of instructions to complete your registration directly with Home Depot and Pro Extra. So make sure you do that. If you do not understand my accent at all, then just go to TractionREIA.com, go to members only, and download the Home Depot rebate. It gives you step-by-step instructions. And when you go to HomeDepot.com, you go into your profile, I need you to make sure that this little thing that says gold paint, it's there. If it's not there and you're a Traction member, please email me. Tom is going to put my email is Carolina, spelled like Carolina, at TractionREIA.com, and we'll fix that. So this is the 3 questions that, well, I guess this is for the next rebate, but since we're already in July, if you're current on your member and if you properly register, you should be getting your rebate for the first half of 2024. So whatever you spend January to June, you should be getting your rebate very soon. If you answered yes to all those questions and you still have issues, just email me and I'm happy to help. The reason I'm gonna spend just 1 more second on Home Depot is because they recently told all the REIA chapters that they're doing a big audit. So they need to make sure that everybody that is participating in this rebate program is properly registered with the local REIA chapter. So again, if you're not covering your dues, there's a big chance that you might not get your rebate because Home Depot asked us for the list of memberships. So I sent that over. If you're not there, you probably are not gonna get your rebate. So if you have any questions, email me right now or at the end of the meeting, and we'll make sure that you're a current member, okay? We have other benefits for you with Office Depot, Rent Perfect. I always say whatever you save here, spend it on marketing. Even FedEx will give you discounts, and all this information is on our website. You also get a special membership card. This counts as a meeting, the DC meeting, the Saturday class with Andy counts. So remember to keep up on your frequent attendee card. If by now you have enough information to say yes or no, I want to join Traction. Very simple. Individuals is 196. If you're two people in the same household, or if you're a business, then you have to register as a business. So that information is on our website, and you immediately get a confirmation and a welcome message. We have monthly events online, and we also have in person. The next one in person in DC is September 19th. We do a beer and real estate. We have a lot of fun. We have beer and we hang out. So the next one is September 19th. And the next in person in Sarasota is September 26th. So you will celebrate my birthday, because my birthday is the 25th. So you can hug me on the 26th if you're in Sarasota, and you can buy me a beer or whatever you want. So those are the days for the in-person. I'm going to tell you a bit about Legal Shield, which is a service that I have been using for a long time. It used to be called Prepaid Legal. Most of you might remember. But every month I get questions. Hey, what do I do for legal help? How do I take care of this? How about my, they have had questions about my contracts. And then I said, wait a minute, I've been using this. Maybe I should share this with all of you. Because we always have questions about contracts, about real estate transactions. Yes, we get sued, but if we have the good setup, and we always need legal advice. This is a great service that is nationwide, doesn't matter where you are. And then you need to keep an eye on your assets. And we also need to do a bit of estate planning. So we need that representation. So what Legal Shield will do is they'll give you unlimited personal legal consulting, business consulting. They're going to do document reviews. And anytime you're in a situation with the law or cops or anything, you can always call them and they will walk you through what do you need to say and what do you need to do. So this is their plan. They also have IRS. They will represent you in court. They will offer you some trial hours. The will creation, so your will, is one of the big benefits. Because if you were to call an attorney and say, hey, do my will, it will be a few hundred, but this one is just part of your membership. So this one is a good one. And moving traffic violations, that's Tom's favorite because he likes to speed up a bit. So every time he gets a ticket, then I just call Legal Shield and then they represent us anywhere. He's been stopped in several
Different places.
in the US. So that alone has saved me thousands because I don't have to pay an attorney to go it, they do it. And it covers your entire family. And this is just month to month. If you don't like it, then you just cancel it. So it's only $29.95 a month. And this is how it works. They also have a home business writer, which is most of us. We have a home business. They review 4 business documents. They check, they give you 12 business letters. Like if you need to send a collection letter, they can do that. They also do 30-minute phone consultations, and it's only $14.95. They also have the identity theft. So this is for your, oh my God, the daily monitoring your credit, credit report, restoration of credit. They just keep an eye on you, and it's only $14.95 for individual and $29.95 for families. If this is something that you're interested in, Then you can do the basic legal shield plan, 29, the home business rider, another 14, and then the identity theft is 14. So for $60 a month, then you will be covered, and it's fantastic. Trust me, just with the traffic violations and the will creation, and they update it anytime you want. That's totally worth it. So, oops, I went too fast. So if you want this, just go to tractionrea.com/legal shield and just select the plan that you want, and you'll be all set. Okay. And I think that's it for me. And now we're gonna have Claude do the market update, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Do you
I'm
stop
good.
share or
Nope.
just? Okay.
No, I'll take care of that. All righty. So, thanks, Carolina. Now let's do this. Claude, let's get a spotlight on you. There you go. Let's do an audio check too.
Can you hear me good?
I sure can. Hi.
Step
me
one.
Presentation to boot correctly, and then I'm going to share that out. Gang, the market update has been our way of, which I think is Claude, what we have, like 12 years of this now?
Yeah, but I started in high school, so
13, yes, exactly. I know you know, still a young man, and it's good. I shared the wrong presentation. That was genius of me. Let me I share the exact same thing. Hang on a second. Let me share the other screen. There we go. How do you keep on top of what's going on? Well, I lean on the really smart, sharp cats of my team, and Claude is one of them. And so we said, let's share this with everybody every month rather than keeping it secret to ourselves. And so, yeah, for 12, 13 years, Claude's been sharing this with everyone on a monthly basis. So we do different market updates, take different themes, different angles, different topics, and always keeping on top of what's actually happening out there. So you can get the real inside edge on what's occurring, so you don't just have to rely on the media to tell you what's happening. So Claude, take it away.
Hi there. So this is going to focus on the core areas that Traction works at, which is the DC area, as well as Florida. We're going to look at, if you're trying to focus on a neighborhood to go to, where are things happening and where are things more soft. And then in a couple of months, we'll go on another neighborhood. We'll do another neighborhood. We'll do other states that Traction plays with, but just so you know, this time we're focused on the core areas. So let's start, Tom. Like that. So we're going to start with looking at Virginia and just comparing the same stats for the three states. How do things stack up? And here in the DC area, we have a choice as to which side of the river you want to play in. And so, yeah, the market's been interesting for the last 2-3 years, right? And a year ago, if I was telling you prices would go up, you probably wouldn't believe me. And yet, looking at homes right now, so far this year, year over year, prices have gone up about 4.5%. And we've sold in Virginia, and we've sold more homes by almost 2.7% than we have before. And the average home is staying on the market 20 days. And so if you're trying to think about, I want to do a flip, where are things going? Use this as a measuring stick for where things have been for the last couple of months, last year, and from there, guesstimate where the future will be. Next slide, Tom. If you don't like Virginia, then you can go to the other side, which is Maryland. Maryland's prices are going up even faster, 5.8%, almost 6%. What you'll notice is that in Maryland, we have many fewer homes to sell year over year, which means that you would expect prices will continue to rise faster in Maryland than they would in DC. On the other hand, Maryland, you're going to have to wait longer, 23 days rather than 20 days. Just be aware that, Maryland right now is poised to see maybe more growth in the next X months, year than you would have in Virginia. How does this compare to the people down in Florida? Tom, next slide. Florida has not had quite the robust growth. They're at 3.1%, but Florida has fewer homes on the market than they did a year ago. And I would think that would mean that you would have continued pressure for home prices to continue. But on the other hand, if you go from DC to Florida, they have a whole different yardstick for how fast things move. It's taking them almost 2 months, 55 days, which is 13 days more than it was last year. So Florida is slowing down a bit. Now, for those of you who are in the DC area and were thinking, why don't you do DC? You know, the DC itself is such a small market. It just skews things, and I just didn't want to think about it. So we're going to ignore DC. I want you guys to stay in Maryland or Virginia. Next slide, Tom. And now let's go back and look at the housing supply and what do we think will be going, really comes down to how much inventory is there, because the amount of inventory tells you what the demand is like, what the supply is like, as well as what the pressure is like. And in Virginia, we have more homes for sale. We have more new homes for sale, like new to the market, which does not mean new build, but just new to the market. And in Virginia, we have 2 months of supply. A healthy market at 3 months is where you sort of get equilibrium. So if it's less than 3 months, that you would see that as a seller's market. So the prior slides in Virginia showed you that prices will continue to go up, which benefits sellers. This slide shows you the same thing. This is again showing that Virginia is a seller's market. And so don't wait for things to turn, just things are really good for you right now as a seller. As a buyer, understand you may want to wait a bit, but as a flipper, understand this is the market you're playing in. Next slide, Tom. But if the flipper wants to go to Maryland instead, well, what's going on in Maryland? Maryland has got more homes on the market by 11% than they did a year ago, but Maryland also has homes coming onto the market now faster. And so 2 months of supply, but you would potentially think that maybe in the future, Maryland's supply will become more in equilibrium because they're having more new homes come to the market, which sort of recalibrates a bit more. Nonetheless, let's not kid ourselves. This is also a seller's market, which means the buyers don't get to negotiate very much. Now, let's go to Florida. Tom? Florida, they've got a lot more homes for sale, 40% more. They've got not as many homes coming onto the market, 12% more, but they've got 4 months supply. And that would tell you that, guess what? Florida is not nearly the same buyer's market that we have here in the DC area. And so in Florida, I would expect you to negotiate just a bit more. Okay, Tom, let's go to one more set of slides. So if you're in Virginia and you want to get hyper local and understand where are things most competitive, where's the best market to be a seller, these are the 10 towns in Virginia, and you'll notice some of those are very close to here in Northern Virginia. And so if I know a lot of flippers would love Centerville, so just understand this is where you want to be in Virginia. And I know this presentation will be available probably sometime tomorrow, so you can go to Carolina's website and get that. Next slide, Tom. Really? No. What? That's not even me. Back one. Cool. Okay. Very good. Now we're going to look at where the hyper locals hotspots I want to be in Maryland. Well, this is Maryland, and you'll see that some of those, Columbia, Maryland is almost DC. Most nothing else is. This will show you some of these. A number of these are Baltimore area. So if you're in the Baltimore area, you might be happier than those of us here in the DC area, because these are because Maryland's cooking up north right now. And next slide, Tom. Let's do the same thing for Florida. I don't even think I want to talk about I don't know where most of these places are. I recognize some of the names, but if you're in Florida, this is probably where you should be playing. And one more slide, Tom, because not everyone is the DC or Florida. If you want to play nationwide, I think we've talked about this in the past, but understand that the markets that are most on fire right now are in upstate New York, specifically on the west side, which is Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, I think, in terms of selling. In terms of buying, where you are in the best position to buy, a lot of those are in the South, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. And so in the 2 months, we'll come back and look at some of these other places, but just want to show you that if you're not in one of our local areas, there are lots of other areas where there are lots of investors doing lots of things. And I believe that's it, Tom. Next slide might be statistics is where I got this information. And my contact info.
Fantastic. Look at that. Awesome, Claude. And folks, like you said, in a couple of months, we're going to do heat maps for other regions based on where we see you guys joining us from as we go. So Thanks, Claude. Always detailed and good to know what's happening. Interesting seeing some of the shifts and some of the reversals in those regions. The sellers market, some of them like Florida has become more buyers, or was easier for one than the other. And the same Western New York, where I'm from, Buffalo. It's definitely a hot time to sell right now. First time ever.
Right. But you know what? Everything comes around. That's right.
Even Buffalo, not bad, I say. All right, cool.
Thanks, Tom.
So thanks, Claude. And now I'll tell you what, I wanted to get a little bit ahead of schedule. I was hoping I would, because I want to give Andy Heller some extra time with you guys, particularly, well, one, because I told you he has an awesome presentation that is super timely for what we're doing right now, but also because I'll give him some extra time that'll give you guys some time to have with Andy for questions and answers. So we'll do some Q&A. So Andy, I saw you in one of these Zoom boxes. Where are you? If you could, did I go so early? You're not there. If that's the case, Andy probably thought he had an extra minute. I'll add him to the spotlight eventually. He's not there. Man, that's twice tonight that's happening. Calls him not there. Yeah, it's gonna be good. So, a couple of things coming up. I'll let's see how well I can do today until Andy's back. Andy has an all-day event on Saturday, also on Zoom. This is Andy's masterclass. There he is. Hey, look. Hey, Andy, I'm just telling him about your Saturday. So, it's my fault. I told you I'd get you on early, but I told you I was
my dogs a little bit of food just before we start, and then I hear like, Andy, come down.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. I told you I'd try for 10 to 12 minutes. Instead, I'm like 16, 17 minutes. It's my fault. Totally my fault. All right, these are the funny things that happen. Nothing like live TV, gang. You know, these things, it's not Memorex. So here we go. Andy's event on Saturday. I would love for you guys to be there, because I don't think he's really done this online before. So opening up this fantastic presentation, which we've hosted him in person for as well, but we really kind of pushed to have it online this time to get it out to you guys in a very easy, convenient way. So we'll be right here on Zoom on Saturday. Saturday is a paid event, but boy, we're really going to empty out your wallet, all of $29, which I think will be the best $29 you've spent all year. I mean, yes, I'm biased. Andy's biased saying that too, but you know what? I try us on it. It's $29 for an enormous amount of information throughout the day. So Carolina's popped the link for the Saturday in there. That's that's the long version of the link, but that one is perfect and will work. I think if you just put /Andy, it should work too, but double check me on that one in case we're out of whack. So, all right. Now, that's Saturday. Love to have you jump on that link at any time and sign up for more time with Andy. If you need to be convinced, you're going to hear from Andy right now, live and in person. Hi, Andy. How are you?
I'm good, Tom. Should I take over the screen now?
Absolutely. Go ahead. Let's share your screen test. Make sure it's working.
Now you're testing my proficiency here.
Proficiency on Zoom. I know.
Yes. Very scary.
Hey, I see it. Look at that.
Everybody see?
I see it. And then I think if you click that button, look at that. We are
excellent. All right.
Rock and roll.
How are you?
Hey guys. Hey Carolina. How are you?
Good to have you at Traction. I told them that they're in for a treat, and we're very excited to have you back.
All right. Well, thank you for putting the pressure on me there, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me start off, Tom and Carolina and everybody, kind of give some expectation for what I'm going to do today, and then also how it's going to be different on Saturday.
Cool.
So today is a snapshot of my model. Okay. But it's really one-way communication. I'm talking, you're listening. All right. And Saturday is a full day workshop. I actually budget 2 hours for your questions. So really what you want to take away tonight is, can this guy's topic make me money? Is this guy's topic timely? Is this guy's topic well recommended? If it is, whatever you got going on Saturday, cancel it. Because I'm going to rock your world with arguably the most timely seminar you've ever attended in your life. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you about a 75 to 80 minute seminar. And as long as we have a bit of time at the end, I'll have time to take 2 or 3 questions. So just raise your hand if you have a question once I'm done. And then hopefully with those answers, you guys will see that I know my topic and I can help you. A few more things about Saturday. So Saturday, we start at 9 o'clock. One of my pet peeves, and I do this when I'm live also, I don't believe in wasting a minute of anybody's time. I will start at 9, not 9:05, not 9:15, at 9. So, and you guys, there's no excuses because I'm getting up at 5 a.m. for this. I'm on the West Coast this week. So get your coffee, get a sandwich together. We will have about a half-hour break for lunch, but be ready to start at 9 promptly Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. So for attending on Saturday, this one of our ebooks we sell for almost $30. You get it free for attending. 10 ways to buy low. It's a great product, especially for newer investors, where it lays out the 10 of probably the most popular ways investors acquire below market. It gives you kind of a nice overview. You get it for free at 4 o'clock on Saturday just for attending. All right. So one more thing I'm going to plant before we start. So right now, no matter what part of this is a very unique seminar tonight in that I'm speaking to investors, new, intermediate, seasoned investors all over the country. But for the most part, we're seeing kind of high prices. All right. Well, there's a reason why Tom and Carolina has asked me to come back and speak to Traction, is because if you all remember what happened in 2008, in 2008, the market reset. And what we saw around the country was essentially a 2 to 4 year sale where investors who were ready prior to the reset, they were able to buy properties at generational discounts. Many of the investors set themselves up for life over the 24, 36-month period after the reset. So the big thing to understand, everybody, is resets don't just happen. There are signs leading up to the reset that the market is about to change. What's interesting right now is we are seeing similar signs as we saw in real estate markets around the country in 2006 and 2007. So we all know that right now the prices are elevated. We all know that there's not crazy numbers of foreclosures yet. But I'm going to show you today some signs that are going to get you very excited. So here's my little seed I want to plant you all with. Pretend that the year is 2007 and somebody comes from the future and it's an angel, and the angel says, hey, Tom, Carolina, John, Bob, Susie, I am from the future. And in a handful of months, in August of 2008, all this real estate market you're seeing right now is going to change dramatically. And you're going to have an opportunity to buy property at discounts that you will not see again for 30 years. But you got to do the following 1, 2, or 3 things to be in a position to take advantage of that. Well, if this person came from the future, every one of you would listen. All right? So I'm not from the future, but I'm old. I've been invested for 35 years. I've seen 3 different resets. And what we're about to talk about today is getting ready for that next one. So while I do my seminar tonight, we all know the market's kind of strong right now. There aren't a ton of deals. I want us all to pretend that it's the year 2007 and somebody's coming from the future talking about what's going to happen soon and how we all can put ourselves in a position to take advantage of that. All right, let's get started. All right, again, reminder, if you have a question or two, put your hand up in the chat. And once I'm done with the seminar, we'll take questions until Tom and Carolina tell me that we got to let everybody go to bed. Okay. All right. So welcome everybody. If you came here tonight and you want to make money and you want to be true, you can make enormous profits buying bank-owned properties for pennies on the dollar. Then what I'm about to share tonight may be the most important real estate seminar you've ever attended in your life. Now, whether you are a brand new investor, whether you are an intermediate investor or a seasoned investor, you're all here for the same reason. You're here because you want to make more money. All right. Now, in this great country of ours, statistics don't lie. And there are more millionaires created from real estate than from every other field of business combined. And this even includes all the internet real estate millionaires. Sorry, the internet millionaires. So hopefully that will get you all excited. Just repeat that. I'm a millionaire, and I hope that sounds good to you. I want to take a moment. I want to thank Carolina and Tom for having me back. Okay, I think it's my 6th or 7th time teaching for Traction. I'm a frequent flyer. And I also want to tell all of you that I'm proud of you for attending today. It tells me that you're excited and you want to have a better life, both for yourselves and for your family. So I'm going to show you how to buy bank-owned properties the right way for pennies on the dollar, either with or without using your own money. Now, if you don't intend to use your own money, you'll realize you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. All right. So we're going to make 3 promises today. I'm going to show you how to, actually, let me take a step back. What's the minimum profit you should expect to make on a purchase of a bank-owned property in any market? The minimum you should expect to make is $25,000. So Traction, unless you got a problem with that, your new minimum wage is $25K. So I'm going to make 3 promises to you guys tonight from my end for your time to attend this seminar. Number 1, at the end of this seminar, I'm going to show you how to buy low. In fact, I'm going to show you how to buy your properties. Get this, a way to purchase properties below market that 99% of active real estate investors don't even know exists. I'm going to show you how to rent your properties in days and weeks, not months, where other seasoned landlords have no idea how to do that. And finally, I'm going to show you how to sell high. In fact, I'm going to show you how to sell your properties high in any market with no discounts and no real estate commissions. Now, when I teach live, I believe in talking about questions that investors might have right off the bat. Questions include, does my system work everywhere? I've got students all over the country. I even did a seminar in Hawaii and in Canada. Can you do it without using your own money? Yes, you can do it without using your own money, and you can do it without using your own credit. What about if you don't have any experience? If you're just starting out, there may be no easier way than learn how to buy properties from banks. What about if you don't have a real estate license? You don't need a real estate license to be a real estate investor. Time, however, is a very, very big obstacle to invest in. So for now, just take my word that you don't need a lot of time to do this, and we'll circle back to this in about 10 minutes. What about the supply of deals? Well, I focus buying from banks. There will always be banks in this country. So therefore, there will always be an ability to buy bank-owned properties. And finally, will this system work in each and every economy? Well, I've been doing this this year will be 35 years. So this definitely works in each and every economy. That being said, there are peak opportunities to buy, which will be coming up on one very soon. All right. If you've heard that bark, you've just met my dog, Willie. All right. So there are dozens, if not hundreds, of people like me who travel and teach around the country. One of the distinguishing parts of our model is that we were featured and recommended by Fortune magazine among the top 5 wealth building models for real estate investors. So this is pretty much one of the highest levels of trust we could all have. So over the next hour, and certainly on Saturday, you will understand and learn why Fortune magazine recommends this model for real estate investors. Well, when I'm live, I stand up on stage now and I ask, is $1 million what it used to be? Everybody says no. Then I say, can you have a good life? Can you have a good retirement on 10 million? And everybody says yes. So now I pose the question, well, how do we investors get from a number like $1 million to a number like 10 million that can really change our lives? I'm not going to answer this question right now. I'll answer it in about 49 minutes. For now, I'm going to ask you all to memorize this slide. How do we get to the size of a portfolio that can really monumentally change our lives? I'll answer this question later tonight. I do want to start off with one testimonial. And actually, this gentleman lives within 10 minutes of Carolina and Tom. All right. Hans van der Kolk grew up in the Netherlands. His dream was to emigrate to the United States and to be an entrepreneur in the greatest country in the world, the United States. And he landed here with $300 in his pocket. I met him 5 years later. Hans now had an American wife. He had 2 little American citizens, and he was buried in a full-time job that he didn't like. We became friends. I talked about my real estate investing that was at that point very early. He ignored my advice to start slow, and he bought 6 properties in his first 2 years. He made enough money with this part-time investing to put as a down payment on a business that he ran for over a decade. Let me repeat this before I continue. This guy bought a business with the money he made part-time using our buy low, rent smart, sell high model. But the reason why I'm telling you Hans's story is that when we were interviewed by Fortune magazine, when they were doing the expose on different real estate strategies and resources, they said, your model sounds almost too good to be true, Andy. Can you give us the names of students who are doing this and using your model? We want to talk to them. Ladies and gentlemen, this was before I was teaching around the country. I didn't have hundreds of people like you whose names I could give. I had one. I gave him Hans's name. They flew down to Florida. They went to look at his properties. And 2 months later, one of our students was featured in Fortune magazine. Now, I still tease Hans like, why didn't I get my picture? You got your picture. But anyhow, being serious, everybody, that led to me teaching around the country. And so I promised to myself that I would begin every seminar with Hans's story and challenge everybody in the room to be the next Hans. The next time I'm interviewed by New York Times or Money Magazine or Washington Post or Fortune again, and they say, give me somebody who started your model, Andy, in 2024, made a ton of money. There's no reason why it can't be any one of you. So a little bit about my story, everybody. Shortly after college, I moved up to Atlanta, Georgia to seek my fortune in the business world. I got a job with a company called Global Marketing Associates, and my title was International Logistics Coordinator. It's a pretty fancy title, but my job sucked, everybody. I just sat at my desk. I sent telexes and faxes and emails. I was responsible for logistics of picking up loads of frozen poultry from poultry plants in the southeast, loading the poultry on the trucks and trucking the poultry to these ports and loading them on these giant vessels and shipping them to Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, my job sucked. One of the first times I ever spoke in public, somebody came up to me in the back of the room and said, Andy, you really connect with me as a genuine guy. Your model makes sense. What's the single greatest reason for your success? Oh, without hesitating, I said, frozen poultry. It was one of the many jokes that only I laughed at. Anyhow, I didn't like where I was going in life, everybody. I met this guy named Scott. We pulled our money together, and we bought this really flawed property you see pictured here today. Just like the picture shows, it had literally a 30-degree downward sloping driveway. About a year later, we bought our next property. About a year later, we bought our next property. And then this property sold to a family that we had lease purchased it to. And then from that point forward, we began to buy properties at much faster paces. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot I'm going to talk about tonight that's going to connect with you. But one of the most exciting parts of our story is once this first property sold, we were pretty much 100% self-financed. What do I mean by that? It means the funds for all new properties came from the sales and the profits we were making on the properties we had already bought. And that's the position that pretty much every investor wants to get into or arrive at once he or she starts. So the name of our company is called Regular Riches because Scott and I are just a couple of regular guys. And if we can do it, so can you. Our model is called buy low, rent smart, sell high. So let's get started. The first of the 3 steps to being a successful investor is buying low. So if you're ready to make more money, Traction, and you don't know exactly what to say to sellers, or you don't have the right tools, you're going to find yourself paying way too much for properties you end up wishing you never bought in the first place. Or you're going to end up missing out on $20,000 or $30,000 in extra profit because you didn't realize you could have bought those properties so much lower. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever look like this sorry investor, give me a call. We got to help you out.
Oh, hello, ma'am. I'm so sorry to disturb you, but I'm an investor, and I was wondering if you would consider selling me your home for 40% below market.
Great.
Would you consider a 30%? There's got to be an easier way to buy low.
Oh, there certainly is, Traction. Let's help out that poor guy. When I'm live, I ask people, the new investors, to raise your hand if you think it's difficult to buy property below market. Most do. And I answer, it's not. You want to know something difficult? Try to get a 2-year-old to act on cue for about 5 seconds. That's difficult. And you've all just met my daughter, Lily Rose, who today is a freshman in college. All right. So there are many ways to buy properties below market, but most of your deals are in the foreclosure market. So that's where we choose to focus. Now, the foreclosure market is actually 3 completely different and distinct opportunities to buy. The first is what's called pre-foreclosure. This involves buying a property from—
I'll give you one when I come around. I'll give you one when I come back around.
Yeah, this involves buying a property from a distressed family prior to the foreclosure sale, or working with a distressed family to buy from the bank in what's called a short sale. Now, you can make a lot of money buying pre-foreclosures. However, most people don't have the wiring to visit 20 or 30 families in a downward spiral, all of them with their lives falling apart, to buy one home. We originally sought to do this, and I could not handle it. It was too emotionally taxing for me to continue visiting families in pre-foreclosure. Your next chance to buy a foreclosure below market is on the courthouse steps. Again, like pre-foreclosure, you can make good money, but most states require cash on the spot or cash within 24 hours, which typically eliminates most investors. So that's among other challenges in buying on the courthouse steps. So before we go to the third of the 3 ways to buy a foreclosure, let's talk about obstacles. What's the number 1 reason why a new investor who wants to invest might give up? Many of you might say money, but you're wrong. The number 1 reason why new investors give up is time. Time. So when I'm live, I ask everybody to raise their hands if they can realistically pull aside 2 to 4 hours per week from whatever their weekly responsibilities are to look for bank-owned properties. And everybody raises their hands. And if you've done that, you can then focus on buying bank-owned properties, because that's all it takes. So the third of the 3 ways to buy properties below foreclosures below market is buying from the bank after the foreclosure. Ladies and gentlemen, if you hear somebody say REO, it stands for real estate owned property, bank-owned foreclosures, or post-foreclosures, they all mean the same thing. These are foreclosures that have gone through the foreclosure process and gone back to the lender, and it's now the lender's responsibility to take the properties to market. Now, this is our favorite way to buy property below market for a very simple reason, everybody, and that is it's easy. It's the easiest way we found to buy property below market. And it's easy, ladies and gentlemen, for two reasons. The first is what you're not doing when you're buying from a bank. You're not visiting 20 or 30 individual families whose lives are falling apart. You don't have to worry about title issues. Every property we've ever bought in our career has been purchased with clean and clear title. You don't have to worry about access because it's a post foreclosure. You can access the property and see with your contractor exactly what you're buying. So the first reason why it's easier is that so many of the challenges that are inherent in other ways to buy below market are simply not there when you're buying from a business that doesn't want the property in the first place. Now, the second reason why it's easy is a bit of an anomaly, but one of the most important points I'm going to make tonight. You're going to get a deal because it's a foreclosure, but the legal process knows the foreclosure process is actually over. It ends on the courthouse steps. Why is this fact so important? You guys are attending this seminar tonight from all over the country. States all over the United States are passing legislation today, yesterday, and will be tomorrow that is making it difficult for investors to buy foreclosures. But no legislation that can ever be passed can affect what you're doing because you're buying a post foreclosure. The legal process is actually over. Does this sound easier than other ways to buy below market? When I ask this question live, I get everybody's hands up. Now, don't just take my word for it. Don't just take Fortune Magazine's word for it. The Wall Street Journal said it's better to focus on buying bank-owned properties. Now you're hearing it from the Wall Street Journal. Money Magazine a few years ago gave investors 5 tips. One of them, buy your properties from banks for the same reason I'm saying. That's where the deals are. Now, let's look at one more variable, and that is, what is the market telling us today? This is what I was referring to before I started the seminar. Real estate resets don't just happen. There are signs leading up to the reset. The number one sign leading up to resets is when there is a spike in mortgage delinquencies. When more people are getting behind their mortgages, it means many of them will be losing their homes in the future. It means foreclosures and REOs will rise. Look at these statistics. 30 to 60-day mortgage delinquencies in the last 12 months are up 27%. 60 to 90 days are up 33%. This is what we call, ladies and gentlemen, a leading indicator. This is a sign today that tomorrow the deals will be coming for those who are ready. This statistic is why Tom and Carolina called me and said, we need you back at Traction. We want our students to be ready when this happens. Now, one more fact. Okay, Andy, you got my interest, but what kind of deals can I get on these REOs? That's a great question. The typical REO discount, a whopping 37% off of retail. Now, this does include typically rehab, but either way, guys, it's immaterial. This is where the discounts are. All right. If you're consistently buying your property, where your property is 37% below market, you're going to make money in real estate. Now, let's talk about calling the bank. So the property's been foreclosed on, and it's time now to call the bank. Before we look at the right way to do it, let's have a look at one investor doing it the wrong way.
Mr. Smith, hello. I'm Andy Heller. I'm an investor in Atlanta, and I just left a seminar that talks about buying bank-owned properties. And I was wondering if you could sell me some of your properties 40, 50% below market. Mr. Smith? Hello? Mr. Smith? Hello?
Oh boy, Traction, that guy needs a lot of help. All right, can you pick up the phone and call Wells Fargo or Bank of America? Well, whether you're saying yes or no, you're both right. You can, but you're not going to have a lot of success. What are the types of banks that you can pick up the phone and call directly? Well, they are your smaller lenders. What does that mean? It means local banks. It means regional banks in 2, 3, or 4 states. It means credit unions. And all of you live in states with an abundance of these 3 types of banks. Now, I want you guys to imagine, instead of winging it like that goofball in the video, you've got a script in front of you. A script that tells you exactly what to say when you get the person from the bank on the phone. And you guys will be able to buy these properties from banks 10, 15, 20% less than what a similar investor will end up paying if he or she waits until the property lands on MLS. All right, now, what about if it's a larger bank? Yes, you can pick up the phone and call Wells Fargo or Bank of America, but these larger banks are very systematic, and they do the same thing week in and week out, month in and month out. So what I mean by that is Wells Fargo, I guarantee you, if they get a foreclosure in Florida, they get a foreclosure in Maryland, they get a foreclosure in Georgia, they've already got their 1 or 2 agents that they're going to call and give that property to. We call these agents REO agents. It's a nickname. These are simply established brokers who have a relationship with these larger banks where they get these listings. In most metropolitan communities, you will find between 8 and 10 REO agents dominate the market for REOs. How do we help you? Well, we'll teach you how to find them. And once you've found them, just like with the banks, we'll teach you what to say to them so you can become one of the 2 or 3 investors that they typically call when they have deals. Let me show you how this works. I'll pick somebody's name from the screen. All right, Bruce, you are the lucky recipient. So, Bruce, it works like this, everybody. There's 2 stages. In the first stage, you're going to make your phone calls to these banks and REO agents. So let's say, Bruce, you do this. We give you the scripts, and the month is August, and you buy your first property from Bank of Baltimore. All right, I'm just making that up. All right, so you're going to follow the advice in our course, and you're going to take that REO manager from the bank. You're going to take him or her out to lunch. You're going to explain what parts of the area you are looking for properties. You're going to explain what types of properties you're interested in buying. And you're going to plant the seeds for, starts with the word R, ends with ship. That's right. You're going to plant the seeds for a relationship. All right. Whether you realize or not, Bruce, you've already left stage 1 and you're now in stage 2. So now we're at the end of the year. Is November, December, and the REO manager at that bank, he gets 3 properties in this portfolio, similar to the types of the property that you bought 4 months earlier, Bruce. He's looking at those properties like, you know, I got my kid's school vacation coming up. We're going to go to Club Med. I don't want to be dealing with these properties. I'm just going to call 1-800-BRUCE. And he's going to call Bruce and say, hey, Bruce, do you want to buy 3 properties? What are you going to say, Bruce? What are all of you going to say? Heck yeah. That's stage 2. When you've got the relationships and they give you the ability to buy more properties. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been investing for 35 years. Most of the properties I've bought are REOs, but I bought properties a dozen different ways. But the easiest way to buy by far is REOs. And why is that? Think about what I'm about to say to you, how powerful this is. Every other way I've ever bought a property below market as an investor, your chances of buying a second property from that same seller is 0, with one exception, bank-owned properties. And the exciting part of this segment before I leave is that all of you attending the seminar today, you don't need 30 of these contacts. You need 1, 2, or 3, because every one of these sellers can sell you multiple properties. Now, as you will learn in a few minutes, our favorite type of property is a single-family residential home. But some of you attending the seminar are interested in different types of properties. So a fair question is, hey, Andy, how different is the REO process if I'm looking for apartment buildings? If I'm looking for vacation properties? The answer is, it's not different at all. The REO process is exactly the same, no matter what type of property you're looking to buy. Now, before we leave the buy and low segment, I do want to talk about also challenges. And there's 2 key speed bumps that investors hit. Let's talk about them briefly and how we can help you. The first is, okay, coming up with the financing. Well, many of you may have the misconception that you have to have a lot of money when you buy from banks. I'm living proof that that is not correct. Now, this particular segment here, I'll be spending about a half an hour on Saturday. All of you attend the seminar today will use between 2 and 4 different financing strategies for buying your properties in your real estate career. And we will lay out 9 of the most common financing strategies on Saturday. So the big picture here, guys, is that there's plenty of ways to start. If you've got a little cash, if you've got no cash, if you've got no credit, or you've got some cash. And we'll help organize the different financing strategies for you, no matter what might be your situation. Quickly, those 9 different strategies include traditional investor loans, wholesaling, equity partners, private money, hard money. Blanket and portfolio loans are unique loan products that encompass multiple properties, utilizing a credit partner, commercial loans. And finally, when you buy from banks, some of these banks will also give you a loan to buy their property below market, which is unique to any other way to buy property below market. So we'll talk about these 9 different ways on Saturday. I want to give you one quick testimonial before we continue. Donald Kung got our system years ago. He's a wholesaler, and his first REO, he wholesaled and made $15,000 in wholesale commission. Any of you okay with 6 or 7 of these a month? All right. So let's move on now to what I believe is the biggest obstacle investors face. That is determining what's the right price to pay on these properties that can be so different in order for us to make our profit. Well, the challenge is, like I said, these properties can be very different. So we will arm you with what we call a buy low calculator. And actually, it's quite simple. Behind the scenes, there's a whole bunch of variables that investors need to be concerned about and factor in when they do the math on properties. But all these variables are tied to 4 numbers. So all you got to do is come up with the 4 numbers. We'll do the math for you. The first number is really easy. It's the fair market value fixed up. You can get this from Zillow or talking to a real estate agent who knows the area. Your next number is repairs and improvements. That's also easy. That's going to come from your contractor. Your third number is negative attributes. A lot of these properties will have a flaw that you can't fix. You'll need to assign a percentage for that flaw. We'll cover this a lot more on Saturday. And this is probably the only of the 4 numbers that requires any real thought. And lastly, the number of months on the market. If you're talking to a bank right after the sale, that number will be 0. But you take these 4 numbers, you type it in, you press return, and the software tells you what we call our ceiling price, or the maximum that you should be paying for this property for you to make the profit you're looking to make. The number one mistake investors make, ladies and gentlemen, is they overpay. With this software, you will not make that number one mistake, no matter how different these properties can look. Jeff Nix is one of my students. He was also ran a REIA just like Tom did. And you can see what he says here. He would not buy a property without putting the 4 numbers into our buy low calculator to see what his ceiling price or maximum purchase price is on that property. All right, this next segment here, I will also spend about 30 minutes on Saturday. This is the key to what we do, everybody. All right, and again, the goal today is to give you a light overview. On Saturday, we take the covers, we roll up our sleeves off, and we look at how we do it. But this is how you find properties a way that 99% of other investors don't know. So in pretty much every state in the country, there are thousands of properties going through the foreclosure process every month. Now, it's impossible for any of you to call on all and research all of these properties every month. And we also know that once it's in foreclosure, most of those properties will be going back to the banks. It's still impossible for you guys to call on all these properties every month. You need a way to take these varied properties and reduce this to a small number to focus on every month. So what you're going to do is you're going to use 3 criteria. I'd write this down. The first criteria is location. The second criteria is loan amount. And the third criteria is loan type. It will take you about 30 to 60 minutes, and you'll be able to take these thousands of properties and narrow it down to a list of 20 or 25 properties that you're going to focus on every single month. All right. If you do this and do it right, you will find that you will be able to be focus on these properties without wasting your time on a bunch of other properties you have no chance of buying in the first place. So what should you expect? You should expect that some of these properties, there'll be a last minute gift from a family member or a friend, and it won't go to foreclosure. Some of these properties, all right, there'll be a data error. All right, it's okay. It's a numbers game. You should expect that some of these properties, you'll use our scripts, but you can't reach the right person at the bank. It's okay. It's a numbers game. You should expect that you'll speak to some of these people and some of them will blow you off. It's okay because it's a numbers game. So your 20 or 25 properties should eventually result in 3 to 4 banks that are speaking to you and saying, okay, I'm willing to play ball. And you get in the car and you look at these 3 or 4 properties and you end up buying 1 or 2. When I am live, I ask a question, raise your hand if you guys are okay with that ratio. And everybody puts their hands up. I want to highlight one thing that's very important here, everybody. When my system doesn't work, all you've done is made a 60 or 90-second phone call. You haven't spent 8 or 9 hours chasing a property you have no chance of buying in the first place. In fact, if you're actually getting in the car, think about what I just said here. You've spoken to the bank, you've established that you're an investor, you've established that you need a discount, and the bank has said, okay, I'm willing to consider a quick sale offer from you before I put the property to market. So before you even get in the car and begin to waste any significant amount of time, you have cut to the chase and established that you got a realistic chance to buy this property. When I'm live, I ask people to raise their hand if you're okay with that ratio now. Everybody puts their hands up. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got 2 different ways you can buy a foreclosure. You can beat your head against the wall, or you can let me help you. It's up to you. Sophie Ravenel was an immigrant from France, attended a workshop of mine, like the one that you guys will be attending on Saturday. She did get my system, and her first property after getting my system. She purchased it for 50 cents on the dollar. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a young woman who was months away, had just arrived in this country. She didn't even know the American business system, yet was able to buy her first property like this. All of you with the right system can have this kind of result. When I'm live, I say, raise your hand if you don't mind this as your learning curve property. And pretty much everybody puts their hands up. Now, I'm often asked, Andy, why are not more people doing this? I'm trying to do short sales, and there's hundreds of others doing this. I've gone on the courthouse steps, and there's dozens of other investors. Here are the 5 reasons why you're not going to have a lot of competition. Firstly, many wholesalers think they cannot buy bank-owned properties because banks don't allow assignment. That is not correct. And I'll be speaking why that's not correct on Saturday. Number 2, many investors believe they cannot inspect REOs when they're sold as is from the banks. That's also not correct. Every property we've ever bought, we've had the right to get it inspected. Number 3, many investors mistakenly think because they're buying from banks, they have to have a lot of cash. No, they don't. And I'll dive into this a lot more on Saturday. Number 4, many investors do not know how to approach banks. This is actually correct. And for this, we will arm you with scripts of what to say when you get these bank contacts on the phone. And finally, many investors do not understand the REO process. This is also correct, and why we have a course dedicated to understanding how the REO process works. For these 5 reasons, everybody, if you elect to become one of my Buy Low, Rent Smart, Sell High students, whatever your market is, you're not going to find hundreds of others doing this. You might find 2, 3, or 4, and they probably have got an earlier version of one of our courses. So if you want to make more money and close more deals, you'll need a deliberate strategy that works great and a formula for buying these properties pennies on the dollar. Knowing the right steps to buy and loan, having the tools to do it, you'll be able to buy properties that 99% of other investors don't even know about. And you'll make twice as much money on every deal than other investors doing it the same old way. So let's now move on to the second of our 3 steps, Rent and Smart. So you got to agree with me. If you're just ready to make more money and you're just starting out or you don't know the exact steps, you're going to end up throwing away a lot of money, struggling to fill your vacant houses. And you're going to end up putting the wrong people in your houses that either don't pay you or don't let you cash out. Let's have a quick look now at just one of those investors doing it the wrong way.
Hello, can I speak to Lily, the landlord, please? This is Andy.
Hello?
Yeah, this is Andy, your tenant in 5 Penwood Crescent. How are you, Lily? Good, good. Well, I'm calling you this month. I got a little bit of bad news, and I got some good news for you.
What's the bad news?
Well, the bad news is I'm just going to be a little bit late on this month's rent because me and my brothers and sisters, we're all going to contribute and send Grandma on a singles cruise to the Bahamas. I should be able to get you September's rent paid in full by October 20th.
So what's the good news?
The good news is that I know you got that home that's vacant across the street, 9 Penwood Crescent. Well, you know what? It's not vacant no more because my brother Steve is moving down here from South Dakota with his 8 kids. He wants that house, and he's just like me. You don't have a darn thing to worry about.
I wish I knew how to rent smart.
She's so much cuter than that last investor. Well, let's help out Lily with Rent and Smart. So when I'm live, I ask people to raise your hand if you've heard about a lease option, lease purchase, or rent to own. And everybody raises their hands. And I ask you all to do me a favor. Take what you know and throw it out the window for 5 minutes. Pretend that you don't know anything about lease purchasing. All right? Now, what we do is we cut an old-fashioned American deal with our lease purchasers. What I mean by that is we give them 3 things that we know that they want and need, in exchange for the three things that we want as a landlord. So let's talk first about what we do for the tenants. Number one, we give them the ability to buy the property at a fair market price based on the price that that's available when they move in. Most of your lease purchases have a built-in acceleration clause. Number two, we give them not 1 year, not even 2 years. We give them 3 years to buy the property at that fair price. Nobody does that. And the third thing, simply by paying their rent, the tenant can accumulate much of the cash they need for their down payment if they execute their option to buy. When I'm live, I ask people, raise your hand if that seems fair to you. And everybody raises their hand. But it has to be in order for us to get what we want from the tenant. All right? Why is the carrot here? The most powerful part of landlording is a carrot that almost no landlords use. And that is the tenant's desire to be a homeowner. That is the entire foundation of our Rent Smart strategy. So what are the three things that we get? All right. Number one, the tenant signs a minimum 3-year lease. All of you active landlords, ask yourself this question. How much more money will you be making today if you're not spending your time renting and re-renting property you already own? Number two, because the terms of our lease purchase are so fair, the tenant accepts responsibility for repairs and maintenance. Oh my goodness. That eliminates 90% of the phone calls that buy and hold landlords get. We don't get them. But the third part of the deal is my favorite, and I'm not going to tell you. Oh, of course, I'm going to tell you. Tom and Carolina wouldn't have me back. But I'm going to start with a hint. The hint is a large portfolio. All right, Andy. Yeah, I was following you until now, but now I'm confused. How do we get a large portfolio from our tenants? I'm going to answer the question for all of you now. Remember when I started this seminar, I gave you a slide and I asked you to remember the slide. How does one get from $1 million worth of real estate to a number like 10 million, a number that can truly change the quality of your life? I'm going to answer that question right now. The money to get to the number of 10 million will actually be coming from your tenants. Let me show you how. So let's say your name is Tom. Tom, you become one of my students, all right? And you scrape together enough money in year one to buy the top 3 homes in the upper left-hand corner of row number 1. Your number, and let's say, Tom, you couldn't flip any of these homes. You put them all on 3-year lease options. The second year of taking this working this model, because you spent so much money the first year, you just had enough money for 2 more homes. And you bought the 2 homes in the upper right-hand corner of the top row. So now you own the top row. And let's say, again, like the first year, you couldn't flip these properties. So they're now also on 3-year lease options. Along comes year 3. And guess what, Tom? One of those homes from the first year, it sells. And you now get a cash windfall of $75,000, $80,000, no real estate commission, no discounting, and you turn that money into down payment money for all of the second row. So now you have 5 more homes. And let's say, again, these new 5 homes, you didn't flip any of them. So now you got 9 homes. In year 4, guess what happens? You now sell 2 homes. You get that cash windfall, and you take that cash money and you leverage that into down payment money for the bottom 2 rows. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm telling you here is that with this model, you're going to flip some properties, which we'll get to in a little bit. and you'll sell some property to your lease option needs, and you'll end up holding some properties for long term. But you'll sell enough of the properties that you can take that cash money and that funds the expansion of your portfolio. The money to expand your portfolio will be coming from your tenants. Now, the terms of our lease option really stand out, but there's still a 3-step property to getting the right tenant in days and weeks, not months. Step number 1 is we will arm you with a teaser ad. This ad will help you get 50 to 100% more calls than you would get using another ad on your properties. Now, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of calls, which is good, but you need to be able to screen these calls so you know who you want in that property. And this product is essentially a screening product. It helps you identify before the candidate walks in the home who you're going to focus on when you're showing the property. And the last step is you're going to find a lot of weekends when you show the property, you're going to receive multiple applications. That's a really good problem to have. And this next tool is a 10-point checklist that helps you line up applicants that might appear to be similar and pick the family that's most likely to pay and pay on time. A simple 3-step process to getting the right tenant in days and weeks instead of months. If I can give you one quick testimonial, this is Jim. Jim got our system a number of years ago when we still were using the CDs. And here he did his first lease option. He did in Florida, cash flowing at $500 on the property. How many of you wouldn't mind to have a couple dozen of these in a few years, eh? Not bad. So this is the picture, guys. Checks, at lease payments being just deposited right directly into your bank accounts. We used to have them sent to a PO box. We don't even do that anymore. The tenants just deposit the money right directly into our accounts. All right. So if you want the secret to renting smart, Traction, here it is. Renting smart is about making easy what was once hard, because you'll be able to zero in on high probability prospects. You'll be able to take small efforts, turn them into big results. Suddenly, you're going to have 3 times as many people looking at your house, wanting to give you money, and you'll be able to fill your houses in a quarter of the time it takes other investors to do the same thing. All right, Traction. Let's now say, for the sake of our conversation tonight, we figured 2 things out. We got a regular registered system for buying low, rent, and smart. Our last step is you've got to know how to sell high. So if you're ready to make more money and you don't have the exact steps or the proper tools, you're going to have buyers that love your homes, but you're not going to get the cash out of them, or you haven't been trained the right way. You don't have the tools to take them from a renter into a buyer. Let's have a quick look at one of these investors struggling to sell their property.
I'm so excited. I got that property below market. Should be able to flip it, walk away with $60,000, $70,000 of profit. Gonna get myself that new car. Gonna get Stephanie a new car. I'm gonna get Lily that swing set she's been dreaming about for her birthday. I love real estate. I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. Just 1 month, no offers, no big deal. Just gonna lower the price a bit. I'll tell Stephanie she's not gonna get that car, and we'll sell the house. Okay. 2 months, no offers. I don't understand it. I'm getting a little bit nervous, but just reduce the price a little bit and we'll move the house. 3 months, not one offer. I didn't get a lowball offer. Okay, I'm not stressed out. I'm not stressed out. We'll lower the price further. I can't believe it took 4 months to sell that property. I didn't even make enough money to get Lily a swing set for her birthday. Why didn't anybody ever teach me how to sell high?
Okay, let's help out that poor guy. All right, Traction. So we bought our REOs, we put them on the market for sale or lease option. What are the different things that can happen? Well, we predicted when we started this in 1990 that there would be 3 different outcomes. We were wrong. There was a 4th that we could not have predicted. So let me walk you through the different outcomes, and they're all positive. They're all great. So the first outcome is you buy and flip. You put the property on the market for sale or lease option, and somebody approaches you to buy the property, and you end up selling it, no real estate commission, and typically no discounting. This is Wally and son Jason. They got my system a number of years ago. Their first REO, they flipped it, made $28,000 profit. You guys okay with 4 or 5 of these a year? No problem? All right, outcome number 1. The second thing that can happen is you put the property on the market and you put a lease purchaser in, you give them 3 years, and they buy it in the 3rd year. They almost always buy it in the 3rd year if they're going to buy it in the original term. But now, since you've kept the property for 3 years, you now make money with additional profit sources, cash flow, whatever your loan was, you get more equity every month, tax benefits. So now you make 57.4 on this property. Who here wouldn't mind having 3 or 4 properties that you wait a few years for, and you make 3 or 4 a year, 60, 70, 80,000 a pop on those? No problem. Outcome number 2. The third outcome that can happen is they don't buy. Now, you may say, hey, Andy, your terms are really fair. Why wouldn't they buy? Well, there's lots of reasons why people don't buy. Sometimes there's a job transfer. They move to a different city. Sometimes the family unit outgrows the home. Sometimes the family just can't get their financial house in order. And even when you take back a property where they couldn't, the properties are typically better cared for because all the families expected to buy. So what do you do in this situation? It's really simple. You lease purchase again. And if 3 years later, the value's gone up by 50, 60, 70,000, you put it right back on the market, but at the higher price. So this third group of properties typically sells to the 2nd or the 3rd family, not the original one, somewhere between year 5 and year 10. But now you're going to make 80, 90, 100,000 a pop on these. When I'm live, I say, raise your hand if you're okay with 4 or 5 of these a year. And everybody puts their hands up. Now, when we started this in 1990, we predicted these 3 outcomes. We predicted all 3 of these scenarios. We could not possibly have predicted the 4th. And buckle up, everybody, because this happens a lot. And we call this outcome the gravy train. You're looking right now at the 2nd property we ever purchased in 1991. We put it on a 15-year note. And here, 33 years later, the original family is still in this house, still with the right to buy. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a second, Andy. What in the world? Why isn't that family buying? The answer is, I don't know. What we learned, the big surprise at the end of the 3 years, many of these families, they still wanted the right to buy it. They were taking care of the property. They're paying their rents, but they're not ready. And some lease purchase investors, they teach, keep their option money, kick them out and find a new family. No, A, that's not the ethical thing to do. But B, it's also not the profitable thing to do. You're going to take this document from our 3rd course. It takes the original agreement and puts it into a series of automatic 1-year renewals. Not month to month. It's not an apartment complex. Automatic 1-year renewals. And with these renewals, of course, every year, both the rent and the purchase price go up. So if these families in a renewal period And the buy-in, you'll be capturing much of the appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, I've only been teaching since 2006. I can't say that I've got students doing this for 25, 30 years because I've only been teaching for 18. All right, but I have. And I can tell you right now that over half of my portfolio, the same family has been in the properties longer than 15 years. Buy and hold landlords cannot speak about this. They typically have turnover every 1, 2, or 3 years. We don't. And most of these families on these renewal agreements are not going to buy, but they think they're going to buy. They're going to keep paying the rent. They're not going to be calling you all the time. And this is how you build wealth. All right. This next slide, everybody, is, in my opinion, the most important slide tonight to get you guys excited for Saturday. All right. I'm going to pretend that you're all live because this is a slide I ask everybody to pay attention to when I'm speaking live. All right. Now, what should you expect if you guys go ahead and become one of my students? You get our Fortune Launcher system. What's a reasonable expectation? Where you're going to buy some properties and you're going to flip them. You're going to buy some REOs, you're going to flip them, you're going to make an easy $25,000, $35,000, $50,000. A second group of properties, you're going to buy the REOs and you're going to lease purchase them, and the original family will buy almost always in the third year. You're now going to make 45, 60, 75,000 a pop on these. A third group of properties, the second or third family will purchase somewhere between year 5 and year 10, and now you're going to make 75, 85, 100K on these. And finally, a fourth group of properties where the same family remains in the home 10 years or longer. If you're buying a middle income home, any one of these properties will be worth at least 200,000 plus. Now I ask everybody 2 questions. When I'm live, I say, look at this picture. And if this was you, raise your hand if it would change the quality of your life as you know it today. And everybody raises their hands and gets excited. I say, put the hands down. One of my pet peeves about the educational business is sometimes people get up and they teach things that are just not realistic. And I don't believe in that. So now I ask everybody to look at this slide again. And I point out, as you're looking at the slide, this is less than 15 homes. So for all of you, that's 3, 4, or 5 properties per year for 3, 4, or 5 years. And then I say, raise your hand if you think that is doable and achievable for you. And everybody puts their hands up. It's not, you don't need to buy thousands or hundreds of properties. You need to buy the right type of properties from the right sources with the right discounts and have the ideal marketing plan where no matter what you win, whether you flip, you lease purchase, or it becomes a long-term hold. With this system, you're going to have a little bit of everything. Ladies and gentlemen, if you change the way you sell, here's what you need to know. When you do it my way, it changes the entire selling experience for you. It has the biggest impact on putting new dollars in your bank account. When you use it, you'll have an immediate edge in your marketplace. You'll sell your homes for top dollars while other investors are discounting. And you'll get your cash out of more of your deals when other investors are equity rich and cash poor. Well, now we're going to go to opportunity. But before we talk about opportunity, I'm asked a lot, Andy, you've been investing for almost 35 years. Why are you still investing today? Well, let me give you the answer to that question.
on the other bag, so I guess I get chance to like 4 bags in total.
So you got 5% off.
Yeah.
Of
If I buy more than 1.
3 more bags.
Yes. Can I have a meal? What are you doing? There's a food bag.
I think I gotta go buy some more bank-owned properties.
Okay, you've met my lovely wife, Geraldine. So let's focus on why this is a special opportunity for everybody, including me, yours truly. All right. Now, I talked about earlier to pretend that the year was 2007, and some angel came and said, in August of 08, the market is going to reset. Now, when these resets occur, the two dominant ways to make money are REOs and lease options. I'll explain why in just a second. So instead of there being an angel, let's pretend that that angel is me. All right. We're not in 07, but we're now in 2024. Whenever these resets occur, on the acquisition side, the dominant way to acquire properties below market by far is REOs. In some parts of this country, in 09, 2010, 2011, between 20 and 50% of all real estate sales were bank owned. That's how significant the reset was. When resets occur, most of the deals are bank owned, and that's what I teach. Now, what's the other thing that happens in resets? In resets, we typically find ourselves in recessionary times. When you're in recessionary times, it's much more difficult to flip properties. So that's where the lease option is the absolute perfect marketing tool. So you're buying these REOs at 30, 40, 50% below market, and you capture the appreciation as the market recovers because you are lease optioning any properties you can't flip. My model is a good, consistent, conservative model in any economy. But after resets, there is no better way to invest than buying bank owned and marketing your properties for sale or lease options. Fortunes are going to be made in the next 24 months, ladies and gentlemen. We're already seeing the same signs we saw in 07. That's why I'm here today. And that's why I'm teaching the full day workshop on Saturday. So let's talk about the buy low, rent smart, sell high model. All right. First of all, before we do that, we went back to studio last year and recorded arguably the most timely product we've ever done. It's called Investing Like Rich People. I'll talk a lot more about this on Saturday. What do rich people do, everybody? Rich people don't buy evenly. They don't buy consistently. Rich people buy in chunks. And when do they buy? They buy after resets. But in order to do that, you've got to be prepared. This product examines what rich people do so that you yourself can do the same thing. And the timing of this product before the market's about to reset is ideal. In my entire career, this may be the most excited I have ever been about introducing a product for students. So what's the system everybody's talking about? All right, let's have a quick look at that. And a reminder, everybody, post questions in the chat. In about 10 minutes, I'll be done. And I'll have time to take some questions and get us all fired up for Saturday. All right. Before I talk about my system, I want to talk about a guarantee that we will add to Traction's guarantee. You don't make $25,000 in the first 12 months, we'll buy the whole darn thing back. Now, this is a conditional guarantee. What's the condition? You got to open the package you'll get in the mail next week. You got to put the thumb drives in. You got to make offers and do lease options. All right. In other words, you got to use it. Everybody feels this is very fair. We put our money where our mouth is. If you're using this system and you're not making money, we'll buy it back. That's how confident we are that you guys will have success. So let me go over what you're getting if you become one of our students. First is build your plan for regular riches. This gives you an overview of our model and how to put together a real estate dream team around you. Buy low, position yourself for success. How to buy property below market with a focus on bank-owned REOs. Rent smart and sell high. Now that you bought the REO, how to rent, lease, purchase, and sell the properties for top dollar. The 5 steps to foreclosure fortunes is a product that focuses on the REO process, how it works, how to identify your 2025 properties every single month that you'll be focusing on. Approaching banks and REO agents. These are the scripts for what you say when you call the banks and the REO agents. All you guys got to do is read it. We give you exactly what to say when you get that person on the phone. Handling lease purchase prospects. This gives you, this product helps you to identify which of the lease purchasers, applicants are going to pay and pay on time. Insider secrets is some of the best tips and tricks of the trade from our 70 years of combined investing between me and my real estate partner, Scott. Money Talks is our different financing strategies, which we'll dive into on Saturday. And for some of you seasoned investors, Advanced Investor Strategies is one of our most powerful products. How to squeeze an extra $5,000, $10,000 in profit out of all your purchases. Now, unless this is the first time you've been to a seminar, you know you're not going to spend $7,000 for this product. I'll give a discount. But before I do that, I want to talk about what our system is not. This is not a home study course. You want to take a course on real estate, go to a university in your neighboring city. This is a business in a box, a business with all the intellectual property you need to do what I'm talking about tonight and what we're going to cover on Saturday in your home market. We could have easily charged $15,000, $20,000 for this system, but we picked $19.97. That's it. $19.97 to get this system. Just go to tractionreia.com/REOs. That's all. Now, for what does it break down to? It breaks down to about $5.50 per day for 1 year. And you can do this. There'll be 11 different courses that give you the ability to buy low, rent smart, and sell high in your home market. All right. Now, typically when I'm live, I say, should I stop here? Everybody says, no, Andy, come on, give us a discount, give us a bonus. All right. So our new product I talked about earlier, Investing Like Rich People, we sell this separately. But today and Saturday, you get the Fortune Launcher, you get our brand new product, Investing Like Rich People. All right. And this will position you for this reset that is coming. All right. Free today for Traction REIA members. So again, if you're ready to get started today, go to www.tractionreia.com/REO. If you're interested, but you want to first attend on Saturday, that's great too. Here is the link. I think Carolina and Tom have also posted this in the chat. tractionreia.com/Andy. Now, before I take questions, let's just talk about what your 3 options are. One is do nothing. You guys would not be attending this workshop if you guys intended to do nothing. All right. Some of you is like, okay, this guy, he seems to have a good system recommended by Fortune magazine. I'm going to try to do it myself. Forget it. There is no chance. What you're getting from us is the intellectual property built up over 34 years of investing together. You cannot do this on your own. You don't have the legal agreements. You don't have the scripts for what to say when you call the banks. You don't have the financing strategies, anything. Or you can join us. I've got students all over the country buying low, rented smart, and selling high. Look, guys, If for some reason you cannot make it on Saturday, then you've got a choice. All right. You've got to make that decision right now. For those of you who are coming Saturday, though, I'm fine if you want to wait till Saturday. Saturday, you'll have a chance for me to teach you how this model works, how to use the Fortune Launcher to make money in your community. I am very fortunate. I've been blessed. I've been investing since 1990. I have, in my entire career as an investor, one regret. Just one. I knew the reset was coming in 2008. And why I knew it, I'll go into this on Saturday. But I knew it was coming. I didn't know it would be quite as big and bad, and the opportunity to get deals would be what we saw, but I knew it was coming. My only regret, everybody, is I did not take as great advantage as I could have because I wasn't ready. While I'm older now and wiser, I'm ready for the next one. But I'm still young enough to take advantage of one more reset. What I'm going to talk to you about on Saturday, preparing for the next reset, is also my own personal business plan. All right? That's how much I believe that we're headed for the opportunity of a lifetime. My system is not good for where this is going. My system is perfect. My system is perfect. I just want to encapsulate what we've talked about right now before we go to Carolina and take some questions for everybody. I've been doing this since 1990. This model is recommended by Fortune magazine. All of you respect Carolina and Tom. This is probably my 7th or 8th time teaching at their REIA. I am one of those gurus who is still doing it today. I'm an active investor. All right. I do these seminars, 4 or 5 of these a year. This isn't my full-time job, guys. And I'm here to help you guys make money. I can't do it if you don't go and get the system tonight and or join us on Saturday. Now, tonight has been a snapshot of our model. And I hope I got you guys excited. Saturday is different. We're rolling up our sleeves, and some segments tonight where I spoke about for 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to spend a half an hour or more on Saturday. Maybe you had a question you wanted to ask me, but it's one-way communication tonight. On Saturday, I budget 2 hours for your question. Whatever you have going on Saturday, whether you got your daughter's getting married, you're supposed to go out of town, kids getting bar mitzvahed, cancel it. It's not as important as attending on Saturday because it'll be a chance to set yourself up for life. Carolina, I hope everybody has enjoyed. Do we have some good questions? I see 38 comments in the chat, and if there's some
Hi,
questions
Abby.
for me.
Thank you. This was fantastic. Thank you. I got a few questions. One of our attendees is from Canada, so he's asking if this will work in Canada.
Yes. Okay. By the way, I'm originally Torontonian. I was born in Canada. So the acquisition, the REO side works a bit differently. All right. The lease option works exactly the same. So I would say to you somewhere between 60 to 80%, you can use verbatim. All right. I have to admit, I'm busy enough studying the nuances of how banks work in this country. So I can't tell you exactly the details on the banking system. The REO process works identical. I have spoken and taught in Canada, but it's been about 15 years.
Okay, awesome. The rest of the questions I was able to answer about Saturday, what time does it start, if they cannot attend, like things like that. But I'm happy if you are, we can open it up. If somebody has a question, they are welcome to just raise their hand And
Yep.
then
Let me speak to
we
that
can
and give people a chance to raise their hand and say, this right now, this next 10, 15 minutes is a chance for you guys to see that I know my topic. All right. I'm not just somebody able to give a great PowerPoint presentation. So ask me a few difficult questions and you'll see that, hey, this guy can help me make money. I want to spend a full day with him on Saturday. So if questions about, if you want to wholesale REOs, lease options in your state, you can ask me my thoughts about the market. I teach all over the country. My home investment market is in Atlanta. I grew up in Florida. I live in California. And I go back and forth between California and Atlanta. And there's maybe a dozen states where I haven't taught at. So I know most markets fairly well. And I know this topic inside out. Carolina, we got some questions?
I don't see anybody raising their hand. And if you don't find the button that says raise hand, just unmute yourself and you can start. Oh, and by the way, for all our Traction REIA members, this counts as a meeting, so I can give you the virtual stamp. And if you have any questions about the offer or anything, just okay. Michael, go ahead and unmute, please.
Yeah, hi Andy. Thank you. So my question is, what about equity? A lot of houses that's were purchased like 3-4 years ago. They accumulated equity. So what about equity? Houses with equity? What if you said people are going to foreclose? Default on the mortgages. But I mean, there's equity in those houses. What about those cases?
Yeah. So
It's most of them.
okay. My answer, Michael, is you don't want to look at this from where things are at today, right? So what happened in August of 08 is virtually overnight, billions of dollars, maybe even trillions of dollars in equity were lost. Equity on some level, it's just on paper, guys, all right? Equity is only realized if you're able to sell a property. Equity can be lost overnight if properties go down in value. So now I can't predict the future, Michael, just to be fair. I can't tell you if the reset will look like it did in August 08. It was very, very sudden. It could be a slow adjustment of values. But I am absolutely sure resets are coming. And when that happens, whatever equity these families had is lessened. The way the foreclosures work is that you'll be very surprised. There are properties that go through the foreclosure process that have little or no equity, and some that have a lot of equity. Many times families are trying desperately to save their homes, and they just run out of time. The beauty about this is once it goes back to the bank, whatever equity the property did or didn't have, it's irrelevant. The bank just needs to get rid of the property. There's even a name for that property on a bank's book, which speaks to what they're looking to do. Do you know what they call these REOs that are on the bank's books? A non-performing asset.
No.
So what do you do with non-performing assets? You get rid of them. So what I tell my students is if you're researching a property and if you're aware of a property with 100K in equity when it goes back to a bank and one that was upside down when it goes back to a bank, you might get a better deal from the upside down property than the one with equity. It all depends on how motivated that bank is to get rid of that property. So it might seem a little counterintuitive and not even logical, but again, after the foreclosure process, the bank looks at these properties very differently as a non-performing asset, and they want it off their books. Whatever equity existed in the property prior to foreclosure is irrelevant.
Thank you, Andy.
Sure. Now, I will say, before I take the next question, if you're buying a short sale that is similar to what we do, but you're kind of negotiating with the bank prior to foreclosure, that's when equity is important, but not as a post foreclosure. Thanks for asking that question.
Okay, Andy, I have two more questions in the chat. I'm happy to read them out, or if you
Sure.
want to read them.
Let's go ahead and read them out.
Lisa is asking, when you're buying the REOs, are you also doing rehab work, or is it the rehab work usually already done or only needing cleanup? How are you budgeting?
Well,
for the repair?
almost always, Lisa, we are doing the rehab. And we'll cover this a lot more on Saturday, but we are typically buying the property very, very soon after the foreclosure sale. So the bank has not had an opportunity yet to do their rehab. All right, now, I will give you a little hint for Saturday. Let's say you're starting off and you don't have a lot of cash, like many people do when they're starting off. Well, you can ask the bank before you close to do some of the rehab for you, or to allocate some money into a fund that can go to your contractor. This is something that you're able to do to lower your rehabbing cost when you're buying from banks. That is much more difficult when you're buying from individuals. And I'll talk about some of the steps that we used in our first years when we were in our 20s to save money on our rehab. But the typical answer to your question is we are almost always doing the rehab. And Lisa, you want to do the rehab. Why is that? The reason why you want to do the rehab is because you're going to use the condition of the property as a means to get a better deal. All right. Now, very often these banks have not seen the properties, but you have. So you can come and say, oh my God, this property is so bad and blah, 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 blah. It's got this, it's got that, got this, it got that. But you know what, Mr. Banker? I'll take it off your hands, but you've got to give me $70,000. I'm allocating $70,000 for rehab. The bank wants to get rid of that property, but you can do the work for 60 or even 55. So these are some of the unique opportunities you have when you're buying from an institutional seller where you know the property better than they do. It's so different than other ways to buy. The bank looks at the property on their balance sheet. Okay? You're seeing the property physically. All right? And again, part of what we teach is how to use that to an advantage to make more money on your purchases. Thanks for asking that, Lisa.
Okay, Andy, we have a question from Tamiko. Do you deal with REOs that go through online auctions?
Okay, yes and no. We buy properties directly from banks, right? The online auctions are a different marketing tool that these banks often use. Sometimes the property, there'll be two opportunities to buy the property. So for example, let's say you're following 123 Ponderosa Street, all right? And it forecloses on August 1st. You contact the bank and you contact them on August 10th. You have a chance to buy that property around August 10th. All right. Now, this bank may intend to send that property to auction, but you're speaking to them before. All right. Now, if you're not successful, you may have a second chance at that property you already know, September 15th, when it goes to auction. I don't want to talk too much about our course right now, but I will say one of the bonuses in our course is we will teach you how to buy properties on auction. One of the bonus segments in our course is one of the companies that we use for data is auction.com. They are one of those auction house sites, online auction sites you were referring to in your question. So I know the VP. He helps me out with data. Every time he needs to interview an investor, very often he calls me. I interviewed him, I think it was an hour and 15 minutes, and on how to buy properties on auctions, how to do it strategically, and what are the discounts that you should expect. This recording is made available to all of our students. So yes, we teach this, but I would look at it as a bonus, all right? There's buying on auctions is a bit different. When you buy from a bank directly, our purchase contracts give you the ability to get the property inspected, all right? Typically, when you're buying on an auction site, you don't have that ability. So there are different ways to buy. Both offer good discounts. The auction house buying on an auction site, the discounts are very appealing, but it's a different type of a purchase, guys, because you're typically not able to get the properties inspected. And I can speak a bit more to that on Saturday, and I do talk a lot about that with auction.com in this bonus segment. Any other good questions? I mean, these are great questions.
Tim was asking, what is the biggest percentage discount you have ever gotten from a bank below their asking price, and what should we be shooting for as a discount?
Okay, so my answer is you've got to take these with a grain of salt, everybody, because these properties need rehab. That number was probably 50-60% discount, but part of that was rehab. All right. What should you expect? That's the big question you're asking. It kind of depends on the market. All right. If you're in a market that is post reset, you can oftentimes get these properties 30 to 50% below market. If you're buying in an appreciating or stable market, 10 to 25%. All right. But both those numbers are really good. But clearly, if you're buying post reset, because of the high numbers of REOs these banks will be dealing with, you'll get better deals. And let me just speak, before I get past that question, I want to say this. One of the challenges that most investors have who are looking to buy in volume, in bulk, after resets, is they don't have a mechanism in place to capture the future appreciation in the property. So they buy and they're going to try to sell that property right away in a soft market. Now, you will be able to flip some of these REOs even in depressed markets for quick cash, for sure. But the beauty about this model is that when you can't, you're not looking at discounting the property and not making as much money. You're looking at just waiting a few years to cash out. So when we were interviewed by Fortune magazine, what I learned from them are some of the reasons why our model was recommended. The number one reason, and this is going to be a really important point, I'll speak to this more on Saturday too. The number one reason is they saw in our model a solution to the flaw that existed in almost all other models. Our model is not outcome specific. What do I mean by that? If you are a wholesaler or a buy and flip investor and you can't find a buyer, you are forced to discount and not make as much money and even potentially lose money because you don't have a backup plan. We market our properties for sale or lease option. We flip plenty of properties, plenty, everybody, but we don't have to flip. And I will talk about Saturday how we use the lease purchase to flip more properties and create more instant cash. But when we can't flip, we just lease purchase And if we don't sell it in 3 years, we end up holding the property longer. Sometimes we'll sell it after 6 years. Sometimes we'll sell it after 10 years. But typically, most of these properties we've owned at least 10 years, these families will never buy, but they think they're going to buy. One of the number one reasons when I teach and I meet a buy and hold investor who has never done a lease option, they will say, well, you know, Andy, we want to have a bunch of properties for our retirement and or to give to our kids. These people don't understand how lease options will actually play out. And that's one of the things I love to teach. I want the same thing. And most of these families who are lease purchasing properties and have been there 10 years or longer, they're never going to buy. In fact, I have never, ever in my career sold a property to a lease optionee who's been in the home longer than 10 years. But they all think they're going to buy. So I'm trying to think about this for a second. Yes, every one of these properties, every one of these properties that I have had the same family in longer than 10 years is now owned free and clear. Free and clear. Okay. So my point to you buying holders is that let me finish that point. The problem with the pure buy and hold strategy is if you're not creating cash along the way, you can't scale. Most of the times when I see a buy and holder, they've got 3, 4, or 5 properties. Every now and then you'll meet one with a dozen or more. But the reason why they have so few properties is their upside is after 30 years. To me, that's not sexy. You want to be making money all along the way. So with this model, you do sell enough properties and create quick cash, immediate cash on a buy and flip. You do sell some properties after 3 years. You sell a few more after 6 years, 8 years, whatever. And then if the property ends up being occupied by the same tenant 10 years or longer, that's when the amount of money you make is obnoxious. And again, I'll get more into that on Saturday.
Hey, Andy, I'm getting a few more questions also on my direct message about Saturday, how it works. They're asking what time do you start, how long does it go? And also you told us that there's a specific printout that you want them to have. So if you can talk a bit about Saturday, because we have 5 more minutes left and I want them to make sure that they're ready for Saturday. So if you could just walk through that, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
So what you're seeing today, guys, is a one-way seminar. I talk, you guys listen. All right. Saturday is different to that as night can be. And I don't have any problem if you guys email or text Carolina and Tom and ask about me. I love to teach. I really love to teach, and that's what I will be doing on Saturday. So Saturday, we start at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have a half-hour break for lunch. All right, so get yourself a sandwich ready. All right, don't plan on leaving. It's only a half an hour. And we'll finish somewhere between 3:30 and 4. Okay, I budget about 2 hours for your questions. We'll take questions at the end of every segment. So a lot of what you saw today that I spent 2 or 3 or 4 minutes on, I spent a half an hour on. Financing, it's a real big deal. We spend about a half an hour on Saturday on financing. Calling the bank. We talk about calling the banks. All right. How to calculate what's the right price to pay. That's a big one. We spend about 40 minutes on that. All right. On the afternoon session after lunch, the lease option. We'll talk about how we flip the properties, how we market the properties for a lease option, how we screen the families, how we pick the right families. And the last thing I'll say is they're also a lot of fun. My workshops are very, very interactive. I've got some bad jokes there, guys. And even when my jokes are really bad, you'll be laughing at me. You'll have a lot of fun. You'll learn a lot. And big thing is, guys, this is really timely. We're now seeing these statistics where families are getting behind in their mortgages, big increases. When that happens, typically it's a advanced sign that a reset is coming. So that's why Carolina and Tom brought me back, is because my topic really is perfect for that. So Saturday is a lot of fun, very educational, and there'll be one worksheet that Carolina and Tom will send to you. You should print 3 copies of it. Other than that, have a cup of coffee, have a couple snacks by your table, have a notepad, and be ready. All right.
Thank you so much, Andy. Well, we're coming. I will take one more question here. Let me see. Elena was asking why the families in leasehold will not buy, and who do you sell these properties to then?
Okay, so I think I need to clarify something. Why they don't buy, heck, I have no clue. If you can answer that question, Elena, I'll buy your course. I don't know, because these families have demonstrated they can pay their rent. All right. I don't know why they don't buy. I've not figured that out for 10 years. In terms of who we sell it to, so we are marketing these properties for sale or lease option. All right. If we flip it, we sell it to whoever walks in the door and gives us our purchase price. If you then sign, let's say I don't flip a property, Elena, and you are my lease purchaser, it means for 3 years, you have the right to buy that property at our agreed price. So who I sell it to, it would only be the family, your family, that signed the lease option. Now, at the end of 3 years, what we do that's different is if the family has demonstrated an ability to pay and take care of the property, but for whatever reason, they're not ready to buy, then we will give them an extension agreement that at that stage, the price of the property appreciates, goes up every year by a percentage that you will assign. So that means, Elena, let's say 4 years later, you call me up and say, hey, Andy, my partner and I were now ready to buy. I would say, congratulations. All right. I would take the original price, add all the increases, and that becomes your purchase price. So even if the original family doesn't buy in the first 3 years, but they buy after 6 or 7 years, you will make good money. So the one thing that the option does is it gives a specific optionee a right to buy your property. Okay, so that is the only person or only family who is able to buy, which is fine because they've earned it. And until they buy, they're paying your rent, they're paying off your mortgage.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. Our time is up. It is 9 p.m. So we must wrap it up. Remember, the link for Saturday is right on the chat, tractionrea.com/Andy. Super easy. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Make sure to log in 10-15 minutes before. Make sure you have your connection because we will start at 9 a.m. on that. And then every minute of information is extremely valuable. For Traction REIA members, again, this is your virtual stamp. If you have any questions at all from now until Saturday, feel free to email me directly, carolina@tractionrea.com. Also, all the information is on our website. And if you're ready to get the system, go ahead and do it as well, tractionrea.com/REO. That way, a lot of people love to get it today. That way they're ready to go. And then Saturday, they have a few specific questions. So either way, we would love to see you all on Saturday. And Andy, thank you so much for being with Traction again after many, many times. We love to have you here. And that's it. Thank you, Andy, again. This is the end of the July 2024 meeting. We'll finish our meeting now, but I will stay on the chat for about 5 more minutes if somebody needs any help or anything related to the course or Saturday or Traction membership. Sounds
Carolina,
good?
thank you. Thank you, everybody. I hope to see you all Saturday. And just, I will reiterate, I will start promptly at 9 a.m., not at 9:01 or 9:02, at 9 a.m. So be on time. And if you feel that my answers to the questions have been good, detailed, and it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, then that's just another reason to attend on Saturday. Thank you all. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, Andy. Thank you.